to make absolutely horrible choices and tend to. I mean, when your owner says we might not get it right this time, but we're going to try harder. I mean, what the hell does that mean? Jimmy and Dee Haslam are terrible owners, possibly maybe even the worst owners in the history of football or sports altogether. And don't forget, that includes Donald Sterling, who got kicked out of his own team in the Clippers. So they're absolutely horrible, horrible people. They're terrible owners, and I'm sure they will screw this up tremendously.
So if, let's say, they do still have some brain cells left, who would you like for them to bring into Cleveland?
Well, I mean, the obvious no-brainer is to bring in Baker's old coach from Oklahoma, but I don't think he's going anywhere. However, another loss this year in the college football playoff. They've made it every year, but they continue to get waxed. So Lincoln Riley would probably be the guy that I would look to. The game has gone to a more wide-open offense like college. I mean, the choice probably should have been last year, Mike McCarthy, and once Dallas, I think, realized that maybe Cleveland was leaning that way, they snapped him up pretty quick. So I think they already made the first mistake in not hiring either Mike McCarthy or Bruce Arians last year. And I think Lincoln Riley would be my only choice this year and would do whatever it took to get him there. But that's obviously not going to happen. So I'm sure it's probably going to land on Josh McDaniels, and what a horrible, horrible idea.
Well, what do you think about some of the coaching announcements that we've seen this week? Obviously, a lot of different teams have filled their role. Who was the winner of the coaching hiring season of 2020?
I mean, right now it feels like the Cowboys, because I think when the Giants hired their head coach, everybody ran to Wikipedia to see who the hell this guy was. And you need a big personality, I think, and a big-time coach when you're coaching the New York Football Giants, and I don't think they made the right hire at that point. Maybe I'll be wrong, but, that's usually a city that needs a splash when it comes to the head coach, and they didn't do that. So right now, to me, it looks like the Dallas Cowboys with Mike McCarthy. Is he the guy, and he spent all last year trying to bring analytics into the way he coaches and not just be an old-timey football guy. So he's really spent this last year, what he called Mike McCarthy University, and has really brought in other people trying to help him, maybe change a few of his coaching philosophies. So right off the bat, it seems like the Cowboys are the winners, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
We're talking with Mo from the BS Sports Show. Mo, it's about time to get back into the college basketball talk, even though college basketball has been going on for a while. But we still have a month or two before we really get into the madness, if you will, of March Madness. Let's talk about a big game in the Big Ten today, and that's Ohio State at IU. Certainly a good win that IU had against Northwestern, but this is going to be a tough game against the Ohio State Buckeyes, and there's rumor that Bob Knight might make an appearance at this game today.
Yeah, but isn't it terrible, though, Tom, when you have to say it was a good win against Northwestern, who is probably the worst team in the Big Ten? I mean, yeah. The job that Archie Miller has done at IU has been horrendous. I didn't like the hire from the get-go. I think he's been terrible. They're an undisciplined team. A team that had been good free throw shooters has faltered the past 3 or 4 games. They've had trouble shooting the three. They're lazy on defense. The offensive schemes are terrible. And every time they've played a big-time opponent this year, other than UConn, they've gotten embarrassed. So, I mean, what makes me think that this won't be a Wisconsin or Maryland-type game? IU has looked terrible against the top opponents in the Big Ten, and I think that trend continues today. And hopefully with Fred Glass retiring, that will mean a new light shined on the Indiana basketball program, and we see a coach who can come in here and actually turn this around. At this point, I think I would have rather Tom Crean still been the coach than this terrible thing that has happened with Archie Miller. At least Tom Crean, that guy who's drafted in the NBA, who could stick with their teams, unlike Romeo Langford, who went from what was supposed to be a top 5 lottery pick. He can't even make the sitting on the bench with the Boston Celtics at this point. He's spending most of the time playing for the main red claws of their G League team. So Archie Miller, that experiment has been a disaster, and I think maybe at this point even I'd rather have Kelvin Sampson and test it with his rules breaking as opposed to what this mess has been. So we'll see what happens. But, I mean, if I'm putting my money on the game today, I'm taking Ohio State -2 because it has all the makings of another slaughter at Assembly Hall.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen for IU's sake. Another team that's being fun to watch here in the Indianapolis area, and that's Butler. Butler obviously is doing a fantastic job in the ACC this year. What are your thoughts about Butler? Had a good win last night against Providence, but Butler 15-1, I believe.
Here's what you have to ask yourself: is how does a college an hour from what had been the biggest college program in the state for the longest time continue to get it right when it comes to hiring head coaches? Maybe if I'm the IU president, I'm looking at Butler's athletic director to replace Fred Glass, because time after time after time after time now, 4 or 5 coaches in a row, since Brad Stevens left, Butler continues to get it right and move their coaches on to big-time programs. We'll see another Butler product in Assembly Holiday, Chris Holtman coaching for Ohio State. So how does Butler continue to get it right, but IU can't seem to do that? So maybe if I'm Fred Glass at this point, I look at the success Butler continues to have, and maybe I try to pull their athletic director towards IU.
So with the retirement of Fred Glass, who do you think is the best choice of a replacement?
I mean, I think that guy resides on the bench of the Boston Celtics right now. Brad Stevens, to me, would be the guy. I don't know if college would still be calling his name at this point to come back to school and do that. But I mean, that seems like a good pick. I think the Steve Alford train has far left the building. I don't know. And maybe that would satisfy fans for a couple of years, but I think Steve is kind of a bland coach at this point as well. I think his best days are behind him. So, there's not really another guy that jumps out to me right now at this point, other than those 2 guys. And if you're going to bring Brad Stevens back from the NBA, it's going to cost you a bunch of money. The one that might be available that could be a guy to look at is this has been a disastrous season for John Beilein with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who left a bunch of success at Michigan. I mean, that guy came in and made that program a top 10 program and a team that went late into the tournament every single year. So as this season continues to go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers and his old school ways don't mesh with these young millionaires, an outside fun choice could be John Beilein from the Cavs.
Well, that would be a good one. That would be one name I haven't heard too much about. Let's talk about today's game. Georgetown at Villanova. Obviously, Villanova ranked 16 in the top 25. Certainly Villanova team that we always look at in the month of March. Georgia at Villanova.
Georgetown's kind of fallen by the way.
I meant Georgetown, I'm sorry.
Patrick Ewing, is still a fun guy to watch, but Villanova is still trying to mature some of these young guys that they have as they look forward to trying to rebuild back the success they've had, a few years ago. So, this should be a game that Villanova is able to take, with a little bit of ease, maybe a 10-point, 12-point win.
Let's talk a little bit about Alabama versus number 14, Kentucky. This is one of the few cases you'll find me rooting for Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama has lost a couple of their good players over the past couple of years in the NBA, including Colin Sexton, who is the point guard for the Cavs right now. This Kentucky team has been up and down, winning games that maybe they shouldn't, and losing games like they did to Evansville, they definitely shouldn't. I think overall Kentucky's obviously the more talented team. I think this should be an easier game for them. But again, that's the type of game that this Kentucky team has lost this year. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think you're looking at the Kentucky Wildcats win.
Well, we got a Georgia against the number 5 Auburn. Auburn hosting the Georgia Bulldogs today.
Yeah, Auburn's good in every aspect of their game. They're great offensively. They're great defensively. They create a lot of fast break points. I think Tom Crean's Georgia team is going to struggle with this Auburn team today. They're a team that just can go get it in every part of the game. So I like Auburn a lot in this game.
We've also got UMass against number 15 Dayton.
Yeah, Dayton has been a fun surprise. That's they got out from under the wrath of Archie Miller, and hey, look at that. They've gotten themselves back in the top 25. UMass is a team that's never been able to rebuild since the days of Marcus Camby. I like Dayton in this game.
Really big game today. I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on number 4, Baylor goes into number 3, Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, still a lot of rumors and a lot of issues around this Kansas team. It'll be interesting to see what happens as far as the different lawsuits and the different allegations that are against this Kansas team. I think that's going to continue to weigh them down. I like this fun upstart Baylor team. They're a lot of fun to watch, and how can you not love the uniforms? I like Baylor today in the upset against the Jayhawks.
Notre Dame hosts number 13 Louisville today. I think this is going to be a little bit too much for them to bite off. Louisville is just too good of a team, too strong of a team for the Irish to handle today.
You're right. I think that, over the past couple of years, the Irish have graduated some of their better athletic players. I think Louisville is a team that can kind of just jump out of the gym. I like Louisville too much. I think you're 100% right. It's too much for this Notre Dame team today. You do like the way this team competes, even though they're not as stacked. Notre Dame they have been in the past, even with a lot of other teams that they play, they still play hard and they give their Mike Bray every ounce that they have. But Louisville's just too tough.
Well, another Big Ten matchup: Wisconsin against number 20 Penn State.
Yeah, you've seen Wisconsin blow out teams that they should beat and take a couple of tough losses. I still like this Wisconsin team much. I know, Penn State's a ranked team, but I like Wisconsin a lot. I think they take the win today against Penn State.
Gonzaga is on the road against LMU. Not a lot to talk about this, but Gonzaga is number 1 for a reason. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think they continue to be number 1 after this. I mean, you talk about a complete team and consistency as far as coaching goes. Mark Few is one of the best coaches in basketball. Has had big offers from other schools, continues to stay at Gonzaga, and, continues to build a powerhouse. So I think Gonzaga stays number 1 after this.
Another afternoon game is Syracuse, number 18, Virginia.
Virginia, again, another team that's fun to watch. We're looking at the defending national champions, a team that was bounced by a 16 seed 2 years ago, wins the national championship, puts a bunch of guys into the NBA, and now is trying to climb their way back to the top with newer guys taking those starting roles. I think this is an easy win for the Cavaliers.
We're talking with Mo from the BS Sports Show. Mo, before we have to wrap it up and put a bow on it, another good game happening this evening at 6 o'clock, number 22, Texas Tech, and number 17, West Virginia. This is a team that Texas Tech, I think, can beat.
Yeah, the West by God Virginia Mountaineers, and you always want to watch. It's fun watching West Virginia games just to see how animated Bob Huggins gets on the sidelines. I agree. I think this is a team that Texas Tech could beat as well. It's probably going to be a close game, and you always wonder when does that Bob Huggins explode again. So it's always that extra side piece to the game to watch Bob Huggins. But yeah, I think Texas Tech could definitely pull the upset today.
Mo, we appreciate you joining us. What are you working on for the weekend? Are you going to hibernate? Are you going to go boating on the lake that's probably outside your house? Or
Yeah, I wish. I'm filming afternoons on the Classic Rock station, so I'll be handling that and doing a blues show tomorrow, filming on that tomorrow on one of our stations. So my weekend is pretty packed with football and that.
I got you. Doing the music jock thing, huh? All right. Mo from the BS Sports Show. People can find you on Mo Radio Show, correct?
Yeah, they can find me at Mo Radio Show, or you can listen online or on our app at 1049theeagle.com this week. Hear the silky smooth music sounds.
This silky smooth sound. All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
I see it.
Mo from the BS Sports Show joins us, wrapping it up, putting a bow on it. My name's Tom Marquisell, Presidente. Thank you to Matthew Embury, our official Indy Car contributor, helping us wrap up the Indy Car season, get ready for the Indy Car season. Thank you, Rick Riggin, our official college football contributor, breaking down the Battle of the Tigers, the Clemson Tigers and the LSU Tigers. Thank you, Ed Kratcz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles, and SI.com, our official NFL contributor, breaking down the divisional round playoffs this weekend. And, of course, we just had Mo from the BS Sports Show. My name's Tom Marquis, El Presidente. Don't drink and drive. It isn't cool. We do this thing called The Balance every Saturday morning.